What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City transfer update. Before I do crack on with today's update, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Social media links, you can find them in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video. Last transfer update smashed over 500 likes. We were aiming for just 300, so we'll up the like goal for today's video. Let's go ambitious. Let's go 400 likes. Any help towards that would be much appreciated, and do let me know your thoughts as well in the comments below. So this transfer update is pretty much just following on from yesterday's transfer update. We had a lot of news to get through as I'm rolling the series out weekly before we get on with the daily transfer updates from June 1st for you guys to enjoy. So there's going to be lots of news coming in thick and fast, and if I can get more transfer updates out that's on a more regular basis, then I will do so, and this week has allowed me to be able to do that. So we'll start off first with the outs. We've got no contract news. We've got the latest on Kevin de Bruyne. All this information coming out over the last 24 hours, apart from the story that we'll speak about with Diogo Costa. So with Kevin de Bruyne, it's looking like, despite links coming in over the last week or so linking Kevin de Bruyne with a move to the United States of America, Sky Sports have said last night that Aston Villa of the Premier League have held talks with Kevin de Bruyne's party over a move. I'm not too sure on how true this is and how likely it is that Kevin de Bruyne is going to join Aston Villa or interested in joining Aston Villa. I can't imagine Aston Villa would get anywhere close to Kevin de Bruyne's wage of nearly £400,000 a week. I'd say is more likely to be able to get a wage closer to that in the USA than he is from Aston Villa. There are Premier League clubs who, of course, could afford that. I just don't think Premier League clubs would be paying that. I don't imagine any club in the European continent would be interested in going near that wage either. Saudi Arabia could afford to pay that and more. Kevin de Bruyne is not interested in that move. He does, that's Kevin de Bruyne, feel like he can compete still at a top level in a European league, so it wouldn't surprise me to hear of Premier League interest. It is important to remember that Kevin de Bruyne himself cannot announce anything if it is to involve another Premier League club until 30 days before his contract does end, so the end of May. His party, of course, are allowed to be able to talk and get something sorted. I still would be very surprised if Kevin de Bruyne doesn't end up in somewhere other than the USA, because I just feel like the USA is going to be the place that's going to attract Kevin de Bruyne, that's going to be able to offer him the best package, and I feel like that would probably be the right step at the right time in Kevin de Bruyne's career for him to go there. In particular, he won't want to drop considerably on his wage. He's not going to want to be signing a short contract. He's going to want to try and tie himself up. It's all about, with the World Cup coming up next year, he wants to go to the World Cup with Belgium, and I think Kevin de Bruyne was probably hoping here for him to sign a 12-month extension at Manchester City, and that would be enough to get him into the Belgium national squad. However, Manchester City have felt like now is the right time for Kevin de Bruyne to leave, so it's all about what does he want to do next. Is he going to want to go to the USA? Is he going to want to stay and go to another top team in Europe? Is he going to want to stay in the Premier League? We'll see. As I said, I think USA is probably going to be the best bet with all kinds of offers coming in, which is what we were speaking about in yesterday's transfer update. Now, moving on, we've got the very latest on James McAtee, and the Telegraph have said that whilst Bayer Leverkusen are keen on signing James McAtee, there is some interest coming in from other interested parties, including Nottingham Forest, who want to reignite their interest from the January transfer window. You've got AC Milan keen, Newcastle United from the Premier League are also keen, and pretty funny this one, but Manchester United's name out there, and I certainly don't see James McAtee leaving Manchester City to join Manchester United. So we'll see. I can't imagine City be too keen on letting James McAtee join another Premier League team, but the decision lies with James McAtee and what he wants to do. He could still sign a new contract at Manchester City. I hope he does. I just don't think that he will. and if I'm being honest and giving my opinion on this, I think in terms of his development, I think a move to the Bundesliga and to Germany would probably serve him quite well. It has served other English talents that have gone over to Germany and done very well, including Jadon Sancho leaving Manchester City to go to Borussia Dortmund was a tremendous success. We've seen Jude Bellingham go over to Germany and be a tremendous success, and I think James McAtee will be taking that into consideration and thinking that maybe Bayer Leverkusen, a top team in Germany, would be the way forward for him. Now, moving on to the final transfer of the hours, we've got the latest on Ederson, and Foot Mercato in Italy have said that Al-Ittihad in Saudi Arabia have made their approach for Ederson. Ederson is keen on a big money move to Saudi Arabia this summer and does explain why Diogo Costa has been heavily linked with a move to Manchester City, and we'll speak more about Diogo Costa in just one moment, but it is looking like that interest is solid from Saudi Arabia in Ederson once more, so it's all about if they can get that agreement in place with the player and his entourage, and can they find that agreement with Manchester City. And going off City being very keen on goalkeepers, I imagine the communication's already perhaps coming from Ederson that he's interested in that move, and we do face the possibility of maybe never seeing Ederson in a Manchester City shirt ever again, with him currently being injured as we approach the end of the season. Now, moving on to the ins, we've got a new name. It comes in the form of Milos Kerkez from AFC Bournemouth, the 21-year-old Montenegrin-born Hungarian international. Plays left back and play left wing, I believe, as well. Very highly rated, having a very good season, and it's piqued the interest of a lot of Premier League teams, including Manchester City, Newcastle United, and Liverpool. Liverpool are the team that are most interested in bringing in Kerkez, but Sky Sports News has said that City are also interested ahead of the summer transfer window. I think he'd be a quality signing. I think he's a really good player, and he's the exact kind of player that we'd be looking at. Premier League proven, young, got lots to offer, versatile with what he can bring to Manchester City as well. He'd be a really good signing. I just don't see him signing for anyone else other than Liverpool. Andrea Cambiasso, I think, is probably the more likely of the players to be brought in by Manchester City, of course. The 25-year-old Italian international, versatile fullback from Juventus, who Manchester City are keen on bringing in for a fee we're looking at around £50 million. And Ben Jacobs has said that Manchester City, whilst interested, Liverpool are the team that are more keen right now, and it's not expected that Man City will ignite this from interest for this transfer. So that's Man City just being interested, keeping an eye, but there's a big difference between a club keeping an eye and being interested in a player and actually putting formal offers on the table, and we're very far away from that. It's looking like Liverpool are going to be the team that's going to put them formal offers forward rather than Manchester City, but summer's long. Anything can happen. Anyway, moving on, we've got a very quick update from what we were speaking about yesterday with Florian Wirtz, and Graeme Bailey has said that word from Manchester City is they feel like they are the team that's making most progress to sign Florian Wirtz this summer. Manchester City working very hard behind the scenes to try and tempt Florian Wirtz to Manchester City. A very similar stance was taken by Manchester City in our successful pursuit of Erling Haaland. So the question is, can Manchester City do it again with another player from the Bundesliga, a very highly rated Florian Wirtz? And right now, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Man City could make this transfer happen. I don't want to sit and get on the hype train and start getting everybody overexcited. City are working on it. They feel like they can make a deal happen. It's about convincing the player and his camp that Manchester City are right for Florian Wirtz right now. Can they do that? That's the big hurdle. Not the transfer fee, not the payment package, not even the interested parties from other teams. It's all about, does Florian Wirtz want Manchester City? And Florian Wirtz, of course, flirting with Manchester City, as was reported on yesterday, suggesting maybe he is keen. So we'll see. Any more developments, of course, I will keep you up to date here with my transfer updates on YouTube. So we've been putting it off for long enough. Let's speak about Diogo Costa, the goalkeeper from FC Porto. 25 years old, Portuguese, 30 appearances in the top division in Portugal so far this season. Conceded 26 times, he's kept 15 clean sheets. Now, the Mirror have said that Manchester City are keen on Diogo Costa replacing Ederson, should Ederson leave this summer. Now, Hugo Viana, the new sporting director at Manchester City, has got very strong relations with Diogo Costa's agent, Jorge Mendes. And Jorge Mendes, I think, is going to be a very busy bee when it comes to being a football agent this summer, in particular with dealings with Manchester City, with numerous Manchester City players having Jorge Mendes as their agent, and Manchester City interested in numerous players who are currently employed through their agent with George Mendes. So this relationship could be quite key to bringing some players in, including that of Diogo Costa. Now, George Mendes can make this transfer happen, and apparently there's not too many problems in terms of this transfer. In fact, apparently Diogo Costa's told his agency to give the green light towards this transfer to make it happen. So we'll see. Firstly, we've got a big problem, the fee. Manchester City are not keen on spending £50 million on a new goalkeeper this summer. Manchester City would be more keen on spending a little bit less, which would take us away from the release clause. Normally when we're dealing with Portuguese clubs, it's quite easy. Look at Nico Gonzalez and how quick a transfer can happen. You meet that release clause, you make the transfer happen, the sign on the dotted line, done and dusted. It can be quite a simple procedure, if I'm being honest. Whereas if you're looking for negotiations, it does slow things down. But apparently, both Manchester City and FC Porto happy to negotiate this transfer, which has all been driven by their agent, George Mendes. Now, Foot Mercato has said that Diogo Costa has given his agent, George Mendes, the green light to make this transfer happen. The talks are progressing between all parties, and it is believed that Diogo Costa is the goalkeeper that Manchester City want to sign this summer. Foot Mercato have gone on to say that Manchester City want to negotiate that price of that release clause of just over £50 million. They want to negotiate it down to around €40 million, so we're looking at just over £34 million, which is more affordable, of course, than the £50 million that we was looking for. But do FC Porto want to negotiate, and are they happy with that price? That remains to be seen. And then word was coming in from GFFN in France, who has said that Manchester City have their personal terms ready for Diogo Costa, which apparently Diogo Costa, his camp and his agent are all happy with that package. Manchester City want to get a head start on goalkeepers. All I'm waiting on here really is reliable sources to tell us that Manchester City are keen to make this transfer happen. Now, we have our most reliable sources, of course. We deal with the likes of Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein at The Athletic. Very good. We've got some good sources close to Manchester City. The likes of Jack Gorhan, Martin Blackburn, for example. These are really good sources. But before we get there, what we have is like a tier of sources that we deal with. We have like the bottom tier, and these Diogo Costa links are kind of coming from towards the bottom of the tier list. And what I'm waiting for here is, before we get to the top tier, your Fabrizio Romanos, your David Ornsteins, and etc., you'll go through the mid-range. And Portugal have a couple of really good mid-range sources. Comes from Ojogo and Ebola. I've not heard any word from them as of yet. With what happens with Diogo Costa, they start to report on this transfer, and if they confirm what I've been reported on here from these other sources, that it turns out that that is the fact, then I don't think it'll be too long before we start to hear from the biggest and best sources who are saying that actually this is concrete, this is fact, and this is what Man City are looking at. And it does make a lot of sense with what is being reported. I will stress, because I know a lot of you guys are very keen on Man City making moves for other goalkeepers. This is just right now speaking about Diogo Costa, and Manchester City will be looking at all available players. And it's not just about, I want that goalkeeper, I want this goalkeeper. It's very much Man City have to look at it and decide who's best for distribution, who's got the best shot stopping ability, who's got really good statistics, who's going to fit the team the best, who's going to fit in the best, who's available for the right price. We've got to look at all aspects about what's right for the team. We have the ongoing homegrown problem, which Man City could choose to address in other areas of the outfield, but they could be looking at a new backup goalkeeper if Stefan Ortega decides to leave. We don't know if Scott Carson's going to decide to retire. He's on a one-year rolling contract that's going to be up in the summer. He's a homegrown player. We've got homegrown players like Calvin Phillips, Kyle Walker leaving. We don't know what's going to be happening with the likes of Jack Grealish. James McAtee could be leaving, so a new player's going to have to be promoted from the academy. There's lots of things that City have to really think about, and we've got two sporting directors, Chicky and Hugo Viana, two very good sporting directors who know what they're doing. And if Pep Guardiola's given his thumbs up and Man City think that these players are the right players, then I'm going to back these players 100%. If City are happy with Diogo Costa, then I'm happy with Diogo Costa. I thought he had a very good European Championship with Portugal last summer. I don't think he's the complete package right now. Ederson wasn't the complete package when we brought him in. Diogo Costa is very good with his distribution, just like Ederson is. I don't think he's as good at pinging the ball long range and getting the assist, but very comfortable with the ball at his feet. And I know a few of you guys have been watching and judging based on performances with FC Porto. He does have a mistake or two in him. Goalkeepers, when they make mistakes, they're going to be fatal mistakes. Obviously didn't didn't have a great performance when everybody was watching in England when FC Porto took on Manchester United earlier on this season. There was some very big mistakes from the keeper, and I think a lot of people are making their judgments based on that, and I think that's a bit unfair. Man City will have scouts and knowledge with watching Diogo Costa who've seen something, who think that for the right price they're happy to go forward with that, and if that's the decision coming in from those responsible, I'm happy to back that, because they're watching it week in, week out. Hugo Viana has very good knowledge on Diogo Costa. I don't think this is a case where George Mendes is twisting things in the background and making things happen for his clients to go to Manchester City, a big club, and paying big money so George Mendes gets more of an agent fee. I don't think that's the case. I think there is legitimate interest here, and I think we're just simply looking at, we brought in a goalkeeper from Brazil from the Portuguese leagues. We're looking here at a Portuguese goalkeeper from the Portugal leagues replacing that goalkeeper. They're my stance, that's my understanding. We'll see if things do happen, but Diogo Costa very much looking like he is of interest to Manchester City to replace Ederson this summer. So there we go, that has been today's transfer update. If you did enjoy this update, please do leave a thumbs up. 400 likes is the aim. Also, don't forget to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe as well if you're new around here. Remember, doing daily Manchester City transfer updates from June 1st for you guys to stay up to date every single day on what's going to be a really busy summer transfer window. It's free to subscribe, and anyone that does subscribe to the channel does help the channel to grow, so that'd be much appreciated. Also, don't forget as well, social media links, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok there in the description if you want to go and check me out on there. Also, don't forget as well, email in the description if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries, and I'll see you all real soon for the next one. So that's been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.